Let's get real. Welcome to TBC Today. This podcast features friends in and around the Triad Baptist Church community. Hear encouraging real-life stories from our weekly guests and inspiring insights from our host, Pastor Rob. To learn more about Triad Baptist Church in Kernersville, North Carolina, visit us online at tbcnow.org.
Well, welcome back to Let's Get Real, Women's Ministries Edition. I'm your host, Jody Anker, the Director of Women's Ministries here at the church. Pastor Rob has given us this incredible opportunity to film several podcasts that have to do with women's ministries. If you missed the first ones, please go back and check them out. Today, our entire topic is all about finding a purpose through pain, loss, and suffering. And I have my amazing guest, Anna Simon. Anna, welcome. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, absolutely. I am so excited to have you.
To be here with you all.
Oh, it's going to be good. I appreciate it. I met you just a few months ago. I had the privilege of sitting down and getting to know you over lunch. And I was just in awe over all that God had brought you through, all the trials and loss that you suffered. But yet, the woman sitting across from me was so full of joy and love and peace. And knowing her story and knowing where you are, I knew that the world needs to hear this story and understand that God can take you through big trials and give you a purpose in it and give you peace like you have. So I'm excited to get into it. Let's get real. We'll flip our sand timer. And Anna, tell us, where were you born and raised?
I was born and brought up in India.
Okay.
South India is by the Indian Ocean.
Okay.
That's where the most Christians are.
The most Christians. I was going to ask you about that, knowing that you were in India.
Yeah. One of the disciples of Jesus,
Okay.
St. Thomas, came to India.
Really?
Yeah. He built 7.5 churches there and he was killed there.
That's right. Okay, so you have the benefit of his ministry, his missions coming to India, and your family. So I know that were you saved in India then?
Yeah, I got saved in India. My grandfather was the first one who became a born-again Christian.
Okay.
And then I was brought up in a church. That don't make me a Christian.
No, yeah.
But when I was 8-year-old, the first time I heard children can invite Jesus into their heart, I asked Jesus to come into my heart.
Wow. That is, it's incredible for me to wrap my head around being raised in like a Christian area in India. And you said your grandfather was the first one to become saved. So did he experience any persecution?
Yeah, he went through a lot because people used to beat him up in the evening. He doesn't even know who was beating him up because it's dark.
Yeah.
So he went through a lot, and my grandmother was told not to return to her home after she got saved, and
So she was disowned.
Disowned from her home.
Wow. But yet, because of their sacrifice, you guys were able to have this whole community of a Christian growing up. That's amazing.
We were in, there was a small church, but there were non-Christians also there. But we had that small group of church there.
Wow. So then, obviously, you're still not in India, you're in America. What brought you to America?
Okay, what brought me here was after I finished my high school, I went to Bible college. Then I did 2-year engineering. I thought I will become an engineer, but God closed the door and sent me back to nursing school.
Wow.
And then I became a nurse.
Okay.
And then I came here to work as a nurse so I can make some money and support my family. So I got married to a Bible college graduate who said he will be coming here to study in the Bible college and go back to India and become a missionary there. So I wanted to be in the ministry. After I got saved, the Sunday school teacher gave me a book, the first missionary to the darkest world. It was David Livingstone.
David Livingstone, yeah.
I read that book and I saw the white guy in the book and the black kids, and I'm like, what are these? Because I only know this color. Then, they were killing each other. I read that book and I cried and I said, I want to be a missionary like him one day.
Wow.
Yeah, reading that book, so.
Even as 8, you felt drawn to the
missionary, yeah.
Wow. So you became a nurse in India, or you came
in India?
In India, and then were you married in India or married?
I got married in India,
okay.
And I came here by myself. My husband joined me 13 months later.
Got it. Okay. So then you're a nurse, and at that point, did you have any children in India, or did you?
No.
You
I just got married and came, so I didn't have any children that time.
So what was it like to come and leave your home, leave India, and come to America? Were you excited? Were you scared?
I was scared.
I don't blame you.
Very scared. But I went to the nursing school. It was run by missionaries, so I had some exposure to the Christian people.
Yeah.
But coming to a foreign country, and it was very hard.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. Finding a job and everything was so hard. But I had a family who sponsored me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I came and stayed with them, but they weren't much help, but I had a place to stay.
Yeah, you had a place at least to land.
Yeah.
Okay. So you came over, your husband eventually joined you. He was going to go to the seminary, and you started your nursing career. I kind of think that leaving India might have been your first loss.
Yeah,
kind of grieved that.
Yeah. The grief recovery talk about like 43 losses.
Yeah.
So moving is a loss.
Yeah.
From coming from one country to another country.
A big one.
That was a big loss. And then, so many losses. So losing the loved one and, losing your health. There are so many things.
So many things, but that's definitely one of them.
Uh-huh.
So did you have any family that eventually came over to America with you?
With me?
Or at some point came over?
After I came here, I sponsored my family. So after 7 years I was here, my family joined me. 8 of my siblings are here.
Wow. So you brought over 8 of how many siblings? Are there any others in
8.
India?
There is 2, my brother is a missionary there, and one of the sisters, she's a doctor there.
Okay.
And one of my brother who was a pastor passed away. So,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, my parents had 12 children.
12. You're one of 12.
I'm the middle one.
You're the middle. Hey, I am too. Shout out to middle children. They're pretty amazing.
we had to reach all the way to the top and all the way to the bottom.
We did, right? Yeah. We had to climb pretty hard.
Yeah.
So you were able to sponsor your family and bring them over to America. You kind of, where did you guys settle? Because I know you just recently moved to North Carolina.
Yeah. I came to New York, then I find my job in New Jersey.
Okay.
So I was in New Jersey, so that's where we settled.
Okay, so you settled. You're a nurse. You've got a career. You brought family over. Your husband has now come over with you. You're rebuilding an entire life for yourself.
Yeah.
And then, did you guys have any children?
Yeah, God blessed us with 3 beautiful children in and out.
3 children. So you give me the breakdown. You had, what was your first child? Boy, girl, and the name?
First one was a boy. His name was Ronnie.
Okay.
And the second one was a girl, and her name was Renee.
Yeah.
And the third one, a boy. His name was Reggie.
So 3 children, boy, girl, boy.
Yeah.
And you just kind of built this life for yourself in New Jersey, and you're bringing over your family. But things changed rapidly for you.
Yeah.
And you shared openly with me, whatever you're comfortable with, kind of share with the audience about your marriage, and the man you thought you married didn't turn out to be who you thought he was.
Yeah, he was just the opposite of what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was married to a Bible college graduate. He said he's going to come here and study in the Bible and go back. But after coming here, he went back to school to become a respiratory therapist.
A therapist, okay.
And he became a pastor of an Indian church.
Okay.
And then later on, he chooses, life of sin. And he started abusing me physically, mentally, and spiritually. And I'm like, he's a pastor. Why is he doing? And he blamed me for everything.
Cycle of abuse.
Yeah. They are clever, manipulative people. So,
yeah.
Then I thought, I'm a pastor's wife, maybe I'm not praying long enough, or God is punishing me, all that thing I was thinking.
Just taking it all on yourself.
All on
Well,
myself.
how can I change?
Yeah, how can I change? So that was so hard, and I stayed in that abusive situation like 11 years.
11
Yeah,
years.
it was
Anna.
reported to the church leadership, the church I was attending that time. But he went and talked to them, manipulated them.
Changed their minds.
And they don't want to listen to me. So they put me back in the same abusive situation. So what can I do when you have a problem in a pastor's house? You cannot go to the congregation,
Yeah, who can
and the
you go
leadership
to?
is covering it up for him. So I was there 11 years. Finally, my children called the police and got him out.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Did he also abuse the children, or was it just
physically he won't do because he know
Okay.
he get into trouble,
In trouble.
but he withhold them from giving them things and all that things, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he don't give them right to go for their sports and things like that.
Okay.
So physically he didn't do it because he know he get
He-
into trouble.
That was something that could be
Mhm.
proven. Okay.
Yeah.
So it grieves my heart to hear this, and I appreciate your honesty in it. And so your children were the ones that called the police.
And yeah, one day when he was beating me up, my older son was 16-year-old. He went and told, "You are my dad, that's my mom. If you love us children, you don't beat up the,
Yeah.
my mother."
So he had the strength to stand
He had
up
that,
to
yeah.
it.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, and then he told my daughter to call the police. My husband disconnected the phone, so she has to go to the neighbor and call the police.
What strength they had in
Mhm.
adversity.
They used to tell me even before, Mom, my daughter used to say, 10-year-old, if that was my husband, I would divorce him.
Yeah.
Yeah, my son also. I called the police one time before he was out. Then the
Mhm.
leadership told me to take him back. And my son said, "Mom, don't take daddy back." So the
Oh.
children knew what he was doing, you know.
Was wrong.
There were times they were even afraid that to go to bed at night
Yeah.
because one day they saw him coming up with something and they thought it is a knife or something. So,
Oh.
and one time my son was saying, he was working night, he come home and start an argument with me. One day my son was saying, "Mom, can you get me a walkie-talkie?" I said, "For what?" "So if dad do something here, I can hear it from school and then I'll tell the teacher and come home."
He was so worried about you.
Yeah, the children were so worried about.
Wow.
But I was praying that he will come to a repentance and then we can have a ministry for the people like,
Yeah.
who go through abuse, but it didn't happen that way.
Wow. I'm at a loss of words because I feel your pain. I feel what you've gone through. And for you to walk through it, I'm so sorry.
But God was with me. He carried me through. Other than that, I don't know how I made
There's
it.
no other way.
No other way.
I understand that. And how did you help your children get through that when you were in it? Did you just draw close to the Lord and be able to still minister to them?
Yeah, we all got together and prayed together, and we were all praying for his repentance. Yeah.
Okay. So then,
My children got saved. My son got saved when he was 7-year-old in a Word of Life camp.
Okay.
And he turned 8 when he was there. He came home, shared the gospel with a 5-year-old.
Oh, he witnessed to his
Witnessed to the
sibling.
sister, and she came and told me, "Mom, I want what Ronnie got." I said, "What do you want?" "I want Jesus in my heart." So he is the one who witnessed to
Who
the
witnessed to
5-year-old.
What an incredible story. That had to warm your heart to know you were in the middle of absolute turmoil, but God was still working.
God was
He was still showing up,
yeah,
and he was still real.
working, and yeah, they went to church and we went to, we did everything we can do. Yeah.
So your children called the police, and then you were able to finally break away from
Yeah.
your husband.
Yeah.
Did you have to move out of state? Did you just move into a different home?
No, I didn't have to move because I had the 3 children with me, so
Okay.
he has to go out
He
and
had
I
to
was
leave.
able to stay there.
Okay. I want to take just a moment, and I know that you can also resonate this, that if there are any viewers who are in an abusive situation or are not safe at home, this could be alcohol or physical, emotional, substance abuse. It's not okay. It's not okay to stay in it. I know that Anna would say that too. to get out. And there's a ministry here called Next Step Ministries. Their number would be 336-413-5858. And if you are in need of help, please call. Don't stay in an abusive situation.
You know, God called us to be submissive wife,
Yes.
not an abusive wife.
Yes, that's
And
different.
Bible says, you know, God hate divorce and God hate a man whose hand is covered with violence.
Yes.
So we had to hate what God hate. If I knew what I knew now, I wouldn't be staying in that situation that long.
I understand
But-
that, yeah.
But God was preparing me for a ministry.
He was.
Yeah.
He really was. And that's what, when we get to the end of your journey, it's so clear how God really used all of this. So you finally break free of 11 years of oppression and abuse. And do you feel, what's the emotion after you left? Were you relieved? Were you grieved at the loss of a marriage?
Well, the marriage was already lost because of the
Okay.
abuse. So when he left, there was peace in the home. So
You were
that
relieved.
was, yeah. But I didn't expect that I will end up in, you know, separation or divorce.
No,
or
you didn't get
anything.
married for that purpose.
Yeah.
And I can.
And marrying a pastor, I
Yeah.
never thought that that will happen.
Did you feel like that church that you were at didn't support you, or did they support you? Did you have to pull away?
He didn't support, the church didn't support because he was a pastor, so he went and talked to them first, all the
Okay.
lies, and they,
Poisoned the
yeah, they believed the
situation.
lies, and he gave them money.
Oh.
And the overseer was telling, oh, he's a good giver. Here he is
He's
not
got to be
supporting.
spiritual.
Yeah, here he is not supporting the family, but he's saying he's a good giver.
Yeah.
So they covered it up for him.
So then I can imagine you left that church as well.
I left that church. That is also God used my daughter. She was telling, you know, Mom, why don't we go to the church where we go to school? So
Okay, yeah.
So usually the children don't like to change the church. Then I said, she's telling, so why don't we go there? So we started going that church 1 week here and 1 week there. Then my daughter, God used my daughter. God said, Mom, this is where we are growing spiritually. Why don't we go there?
Just stay at this church. It's,
Yeah,
it's
the
good for
school
us.
where they were going. It was a church like this, you know.
Okay.
So it was 45 minutes drive, but we decided to go to that church. So God was preparing us for, you know, this
The
even
next.
before. Yeah.
Yeah, he knew.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me how God used your children too.
Yeah.
How you were so overwhelmed, I'm sure,
Mhm.
with everything, and he was able to say, "Hey, over here, this is where you need to be
Yeah.
next." So you were able to move churches, and did you feel like you were kind of trying to just at that point rebuild your life?
Yeah, because my children were going to that school, Christian school. I want them to go to a Christian school.
Yeah.
So the parents of, you know, the classmates, they were there for me. So I got connected to that church.
Supported through that.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. And then you also shared with me at this point in your life another massive loss that you've had. So kind of walk us through that.
Okay. The other loss was the hardest one.
Yeah.
And May 28, 1996, I sent 3 children to school.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was getting ready to go to work, God told me to go down and see them go.
Yeah.
So I went down. My daughter, who was out, came back to give me a hug. And then I prayed my prayer with them. Lord, I commit them to care. I sent 3 children to school, but only 1 came back.
Only one.
And they used to carpool with another 2 children too. So
Okay, so there were 5 children,
5 children
in the car.
yeah. And 5 o'clock I had a call from the police saying that they got into an accident. They're going to bring them to the hospital where I'm working. So I ran down to the emergency room. My youngest son came by ambulance unharmed. Then I keep asking where is my other 2
Other
children,
2.
other
Mhm.
2 and the carpooling family. My son was driving also.
Okay.
So they said, oh, they were taken to the other hospital. Then the police officer came and said, I was in the accident site and your daughter died.
Mm.
So when I heard, I saw heaven open, Jesus standing up, both my children running into his arms.
Mm.
I never, this is 5 o'clock, I never had a vision, I never believed in vision. But this is, I saw, my son was not even declared dead. He was died, but he was on the ventilator.
Yeah.
And I said, I know where my children are. They are safe in the arms of Jesus.
He gave you that peace to know, where
that,
they are.
And both of them walked with the Lord. My daughter went for a mission trip a month before, and she came back and said, Mom, I want to become a missionary doctor.
Wow.
Then she prayed, Lord, please don't send me to India or Africa. I don't like bugs.
She doesn't like bugs.
She was so scared of bugs. So,
You're scared.
so she said, I'll go anywhere. Please don't send me to India or Africa. And she came and asked me, Mommy, can you get the devotional, My Utmost for His Highest? And I got
that's a great book, My Utmost for His Highest.
And I got it, and May 19th, she highlighted in that, God does not keep a man immune from trouble, but He will be with him in trouble. Who shall separate us from the love of Christ and trouble and tribulation? And she highlighted in that thing,
The day she went and saw her Savior.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And she used to write a Bible verse or something, put it on my lunch box every day, and I stick it on my locker. Then, so it was all but the Bible verses were on my locker, what she used to give.
She ministered to you greatly.
Yeah, she was. And my son also wanted to go for mission trip, but he said, I don't like raising support. So when I finish my college, I will go for mission trip.
Oh, okay, a missions trip.
Yeah, and they both were very smart kids. And the accident happened 14 days before his graduation as a salutarian of the class.
Wow, so your son was 14 days away, his senior year, 14 years from graduating.
Yeah, graduating.
14 days.
And he had a full scholarship to chemical engineering, master's program, math scholarship, chemistry scholarship, and
all these scholarships.
Because he was so smart. And he did become the volunteer, he don't do homework. He said, homework is for a kid who need a reinforcement. I don't need
I had to do a lot of homework. So.
Yeah, he don't do homework. He said, that's for a kid who need a reinforcement. Yeah.
I needed to be retaught every night.
Yeah, my daughter
Sounds
also
like
was a
brilliant.
salutarian of the class, and they both played soccer, basketball, very, and,
You had to be so proud.
Yeah, they were so, so, and spiritually also they were very strong. They were my support when I was going through
They
my
were.
lifetime.
It sounds like they were actually the ones that saved you out of that situation, really got you out of an abusive situation.
Yeah, God used them, yeah.
Wow, Anna, I'm so sorry for your loss.
But God brought me through, so.
He did. See, she can say that and have the peace of God, but I can't imagine what you went through.
It was devastating at that time. It was devastating, I cried a lot, and one time I was crying out to God, and my son who survived the accident, 11-year-old, was the youngest one. He lost his big brother, big
siblings,
sister, and absentee father. So we were two hurting people hurting each other. One day he was telling, Mom, I don't even want to leave. So I was so afraid that he's going to commit suicide or something.
Yeah, because he was grieving.
Yeah, he was grieving. And I was hurting, and I expect him to do good in school like the other two. And how can he do that when he is, going through what, So one day when he told, I don't want to leave anymore, and he also heard everybody telling, oh, Ronnie and Renee is in heaven, Ronnie and Renee is in heaven. So he thought he was not good enough to die. That's why God left him here to suffer.
Oh, that is horrible.
Yeah, so that was so hard for him. One day when he said, I don't want to live anymore, I went to the Lord I cried. I said, Lord, I cried my eyeballs out, Lord.
Yeah.
And I said, Lord, I don't have a husband. I don't have Ronnie. I don't have Renee. Reggie is nowhere I can relate to. I cried.
Yeah.
God came through and spoke to my heart.
What did he say?
Am I not better than 10 husbands?
He is so much better than 10 husbands.
Yeah. And Ronnie and Renee, I know all about Reggie. All you have is me, all you need is me. Wow. And he spoke to my heart, that lifted me up from the pit.
So to be able for God to say that to your heart, but then to hear it, that God's enough when you were in the middle of losing, you lost so much. What was the time span between you being able to get away from your abusive husband and then losing your older two children?
It was 15 months later.
Wow. That is a substantial amount of trauma in a very small amount of time.
And also there were people who supporting my ex-husband telling, including him saying, oh, Ronnie and Renee died because they didn't respect the father.
Add insult to your pain.
But when he said that to the youth leader asked him, where is Ronnie and Renee now? He cannot say anything other than they are in heaven.
They're in heaven.
Yeah, so then he said, is that the good thing happened to your children? After that, they stopped saying that.
Yeah. So when you were in the middle of it, were you able to be real with God and cry out? Because did you have the freedom? Did you feel like you could say the things you needed to say?
I was open up and I poured out my heart to the Lord.
Yeah.
I told him everything I felt. I don't like what you did. It hurt so bad. One time I was thinking of my daughter because 24 hours before they died, we went for shopping and my daughter saw an old lady struggling with a shopping cart and she said, Mom, when you get old, somebody should be there to help you.
To take care of you.
Yeah, take care.
Yeah.
And I asked my daughter, what are you going to do when Mommy get old? She said, Mom, I'll make sure I come and stay near you. Then when I went for shopping, after they died, my own, I was so angry at God. And I said, Lord, I don't like what you did. It hurt so bad. I wish you gave me one. And I'm thinking of Renee. Even if you take, Ronnie. God spoke to my heart. I gave you one unharmed. I should have taken all three.
All three.
All three. So then, he could have taken all three or he could have been handicapped. Then I said, Lord, yes, you gave me one. I'm so sorry,
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's answered my question.
Yeah, God can take the real emotions that you have.
Yeah.
But then you still hurt him.
Yeah, and one day I was thinking of my daughter who wanted to become a missionary doctor. So one day I was, crying and I was talking to God. Then I wanted to be a missionary doctor. Now look what happened. You killed her.
Yeah.
Yeah, God said, Renee was only one missionary. You don't know how many missionaries I'm going to raise up because of her death.
Because of her death. Now,
Because
their
of-
funeral was
Attended
huge,
by
right?
thousands of people. It was in the news and in the radio and two Christian programs. So
Okay.
first time they closed the highway for a funeral.
They closed the highway for their
a
funeral.
And,
Wow.
I heard that 3 people got saved through the funeral service.
Wow.
Yeah, and then so many people reached out to me, and so God knows the bigger picture. And after my youngest son went to college, because I wanted to be a missionary,
Yeah.
I started going for mission trip. Before I cannot leave him and go.
Yeah.
So I started going to mission trip, different countries. I did 22 mission trips.
So you've been on 22 mission trips.
Yeah, 19 countries.
Wow.
22. And people are joining me from the counseling school and also from the church, and so many places joining me for the mission trip.
So you have gone and you still fulfilled that 8-year-old's dream of being a missionary.
Missionary, yeah.
And you've been all over. You've not let that pain keep you.
Yeah. God take note of each teardrop we shed in darkness.
Yeah.
And he
does
makes something
know.
beautiful out of it. I remember one time, one of my friends was saying, Bible says he collect them in a bottle. Then what does he do with that? I said, he might have 3 or 4 bottles from
With
me.
Anna's name on it.
And she said, God can pour it into a plant and a beautiful flower will come out of it.
Wow.
That is what he do with our tears.
Turns it into good.
Into something good. Anybody God used it in the Bible. They all went through hard times.
Yeah.
But through that hard time, we have a choice in our suffering. We can get better or bitter.
Bitter or better.
Yeah.
That is so true.
Yeah, it can be defining or refining,
Yes.
or making or breaking.
Yes. And I think a lot of people struggle with getting out of that rut.
It don't happen overnight. It took after 3 years, God led me to. I started attending grief share in our church.
Yeah, grief share.
Yeah,
Yep.
grief share, and that helped me. Then there was 2 ladies who lost a children,
Okay.
a child.
In your church. Okay.
The child, and they kind of gravitated towards me, and they said, Anna, we lost only 1 child. You lost 2 children.
Lost 2.
We had a husband to lean on. You don't have, but you are stronger than us. And my faith in God, carried me through. Then I invited them to my house because other people in the grief share were who lost a husband, mother.
Yeah, but
so
they
this is
particularly had children that they lost.
Yeah, children who they lost. So one day, one of the ladies, she had only one son, and he died. So she was a new believer, so I invited her to my home. And one day she asked me, Anna, do you take medication? Do you go for counseling? Do you get anxiety attacks?
She wanted to know how
she went through all these things. So when she asked me, I said, Lord, you didn't let me hit the bottom, but what do I do with this lady?
Yeah.
Again, God spoke to me, go back to school. And I
So
know
you're a nurse, you're an accomplished nurse, and you were going to go back to school for what?
And she asked me, do you go for counseling? So I knew it was counseling, go back to school counseling. So after she left, I had a conversation with the Lord, and I you told me to go back to school, but do you know how old I am?
Do you know how old I am?
And my language problem, and my son was home that time. That's going to take time
and you were
away.
a single parent.
Yeah, take time away from my only child. So I thought, I convinced God that he was wrong in telling me to go back to school.
You convinced God he was wrong? I think we do that more often than we admit.
Yeah, but I was miserable.
Yeah, because you weren't in his will.
Yeah. Then one day, I checked some Christian counseling school, but it was 2.5 hours away from me and things like that. So then I heard in the radio program, there's a counseling coming to Wyckoff that's 5 minutes away from me.
Wow. God was like, I'm going to put it on the radio. Yeah. Here's your message.
So I went and took 2 classes there that helped me, and also that gave me an idea what counseling was, because our culture, we don't do counseling.
Yeah.
Then they opened up a counseling school half an hour away from me that year.
Wow.
And
so God brought counseling school to you.
For me, yeah. And when I went for the open house, there was I thought I'll be the oldest one there, because back home we go to school early. So I thought then there was 30 people, older, younger, everybody sitting there, 30 people. God spoke to my heart, you belong to this group. So I started taking 1 class because my son is home, then 2 classes, and we had to do 66 credit because we had to study Bible also.
Okay.
I don't even know
how you did it.
How I did it. In 3 years, I finished.
Wow.
Because when he went to college, I went to part-time nursing and full-time counseling.
Yeah, so you were still working, you were putting yourself through school, you were getting your child through private school as a single parent.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was God who carried me through. I don't even know how I did it.
He is better than 10 husbands.
Oh, yeah, yes, he is. Even now, I keep saying that when I go through some time. No, you're better than 10 husbands. You are more than sufficient.
So when you went through those classes, and were you also healing as you were being trained to help others?
Yeah, it was healing, and then the last class I took was crisis counseling.
Okay.
And the professor, we had to share our, why we went for counseling. And when he heard, he started inviting me to share my testimony in the class.
You started teaching before you...
share my testimony. So 20 times I went and shared my testimony in his class. Every 6 months he called me.
He had a new class, then you came in.
Yeah, I came in and so he invited me to share in my testimony in his class. So everything God allowed in my life is for his betterment and his glory. Going through was painful and hard, but God was with me underneath where his everlasting arm. And he carried me through. That wasn't easy, but he was there for me, and he carried me through.
Wow.
And whatever God allow in our life is for our betterment and his glory if we are obedient to him.
For you to be able to say that at the end of all of this is truly, it's just God working in your life. I admire you so much. I hate to even cut it short because our sand timer is out, but you have a wealth of experience. You've all this wisdom and strength that you've gone through. I so appreciate you sharing this with us. Before we close, so we don't end on a very somber note, tell us something fun about you.
I don't know whether you know. I'm an FBI.
She's in the FBI, guys. She's what? Can we air that? Is that okay?
You have to be careful. I'm a full-blooded Indian.
She's a full-blood. See, I told you, this woman's incredible. She has joy that just exudes out of everything. Anna, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for sharing. I know that this is going to help someone. I am confident there's someone out there that needed to hear this testimony.
Yeah, and I'm willing to help them. I can share more what I went through, so many experiences I went through.
Yes, so
But,
you've gone through counselor, you're a counselor, you know how to help, not just from your own experiences. Speaking of that, we do have counseling here at the church. We've got our counseling services that'll be found on tbcnow.org. And again, I want to reiterate, and I know you would resonate this with me, if you are in an abusive situation, please get help. Please get out. Go back and listen to the numbers that I gave you. I think that's it. Was there anything else that you wanted to close with?
I mean, if somebody want to reach out to me,
you.
Because I'm not working now.
She's available.
Yeah, I'm available, and I'm planning to volunteer as a counselor in the church here.
In the church here.
Yeah.
Oh, I know you've got a huge ministry. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing. This has just been a delight. Thank you for joining us. It's all the time that we have left. Go ahead and check us out. We've got other podcasts coming. Thank you for listening.
And thank you so much for inviting me, and I feel so welcomed in this church.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's usually a big church, it takes a longer time, but for whatever reason, I felt I joined the first class, and
She just knew was
Yeah.
home.
Yeah, I felt
Good.
so welcomed in this church.
I'm so glad to hear
And
that.
I went to 3 different churches, but this
This
is
was
the church
it.
God sent me, connected.
I'm so glad God led you here. It's a joy to get
Me
to know
too.
you. I hope you as viewers get to know her as well. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for joining us this week on TBC Today. We want to connect with you, so make sure to visit our website, tbcnow.org, and subscribe, rate, and review the show in iTunes, Spotify, or Amazon Music. Don't forget to share this episode with a friend, and be on the lookout for our next conversation.